All right, guys, looks like we are officially live. Welcome. So welcome back to Gem Crypto and also welcome back to Roxham TV. I did a live stream yesterday because right now I'm with Roxham. So really fortunately, feeling really fortunate to join such a established team. You're going to see my live stream, my show on Roxham TV X and on Roxham TV YouTube, and also I connected to Gem Crypto. So that's exciting. I thought I connected yesterday, but it was so stupid of me because I didn't check the setting and it was apparently on unlisted. So yeah, because I feel really weird because you guys usually very active when it comes to the live chats and yesterday's stream, I was like, okay, why no one's just talking on Gem Crypto? But looks like we found a solution. Looks like we are officially live on Gem Crypto YouTube and also on my X and Rumble. So what we're going to do today, of course, we're going to have to talk about Bitcoin, right? Because Bitcoin is doing exciting things. We are hitting at 114. Well, right now we dip a little bit, so 113, but yeah, if this is your first time watching my show on Roxham, my name is GEMI, and I usually open my show with a little bit of chart analysis, looking at where Bitcoin is going. So yeah, if you want to see my show, make sure you subscribe. I do 5 p.m. Hong Kong time to 6 p.m. Hong Kong time, which means 5 a.m. Eastern time for you. All right, so without further ado, what is Bitcoin doing? Well, I drew this rectangle yesterday. By the way, let me know if the screen is too small for you, because yeah, just chat with me in the live chat because I really appreciate some feedback. All right, so this rectangle I drew yesterday in the live stream yesterday, we are basically on the hourly chart. I do like to start with the hourly chart and then move on to the daily, and then slowly we move on to the weekly chart of BTC. So Bitcoin is basically bouncing within this rectangle for quite a few days, like, well, how long? Let me check. So quite some time within these 16 days, actually. Oh, I didn't know it's that long already. All right, so right now we have a breakout at the 113K. Looks like we are retracing back a little, which is okay. The reason why I drew this is that basically it's consolidate quite a while. We still haven't confirmed whether we is more like a fake out or we're gonna break to the upside and things gonna move really good from now. But how this works is that, okay, in the coming hours or coming days, looks like we are moving up. However, this is not certain though. The reason why this is not certain is because it's heavily dependent by what the Fed is going to do. The reason why we have this breakout to 114 is because the PPI was looking extremely strong. Like, I mean, better than expectation, not extremely strong. So better than expectation. And usually market is about prediction. If it's better than what most folks predicted in the market, then we're going to see a tiny rally. So that's what we saw. So this is mostly driven by the PPI, and also the SEC chair came out to say a few words. There's some caused some rally. We're going to get into that, the news side, in a bit. But why I drew this rectangle, basically we are consolidating, and if we have a breakout, whether break up or even break down, like if we lose 107K as support, then this rectangle becomes very useful. So usually use the width of the rectangle, and then we go to the breakout point, and boom, we got 119K. Same things goes to, if we go south, then boom, we get like 101K, something like that. This is just like a rough idea where to predict when the breakouts happen. So we on the hourly, again, it highly depends on what the Fed's gonna do. And also the CPI report is coming out in a few hours. So that's going to play a significant role as well. So we are on the hourly. Let's hop on to the 1 day. Maybe they'll offer some more insights about Bitcoin, where it's going. So as you can see, like yesterday, we have this like huge pump. You see like this massive green candle, like a 2% pump. We break out of this rectangle. However, like, okay, we close above this rectangle. I do want to see that Bitcoin could sustain this level. I won't be surprised that if we dip, even like within today, we touch this support line of 113K and actually stay above. Like, I do want to see Bitcoin stay above 113K. That's very important. So that's on the weekly. And as for, sorry, that's the daily chart. Let's hop on to the weekly. Weekly chart is the same. So usually the candle would close on every Monday. That means the weekly candle going to be closed in 3 to 4 days, and it needs to stay above 113K. It highly depends on what the Fed going to do. If we, because this candle hasn't closed yet, right? I do want to see this candle actually close and stay above. And then maybe the next week we will have like a retest to 113. A retest is very important. Like there's no such way of going up only. It doesn't happen. And if it's up only, it's more like a honeypot and it's not a healthy market, right? So I do want to see the weekly close about 113 and then maybe next week or even like a retest of 113 or in the later weeks, which is very important to have this support to verify that, okay, 113 is a solid level, is a critical level that we drew. So that's for the price update. And then, yeah, I'm eyeing that very closely, what BTC gonna do. I will say, because yesterday's stream, I did talk about 2 scenarios, like if we have a dip instead. I talked about that yesterday because September hasn't been a historically strong month for Bitcoin, but like I just like to show you guys the pattern and tell you guys what I noticed. History doesn't have to repeat, but it often rhymes. So it's just more like a reference to kind of see where September would go, but the Fed is playing a significant role. If we get like a 25 basis point, I think the market, we're going to be neutral at best. I'm talking at best. Maybe we'll end up a buy the rumor, sell the news event if that were to happen. So let's see, because, okay, if you see, okay, let's go back to the daily chart. Okay, we are on a major rally. You see this like, okay, we're bouncing back at 107. Looks like a strong support, like a major rally for the past few days. However, we still cannot ignore the general trend. It's still a going downward, right? If you zoom out from the top of 101.24K, so back in 14th of August. So let's see how it's going to play out for the CPI report, which is coming out at 8:30 a.m. Eastern time, so in just a few hours. Okay, so let's move on to the next part of the live stream, next part of the show. Let's look at some PPI number because it was full of surprise. Yeah, okay, there are so many numbers here. It looks very confusing. Well, we're going to dive into each one of those. I mean, some of the important numbers that we're going to look at. All right. PPI surprised the markets because it dropped. Look at this, like it dropped 0.1% month over month when we expected a 0.3% rise for month over month. And the reason why we care a lot about PPI, even we care more about PPI than CPI, because, okay, first of all, PPI usually leads CPI by 1 to 3 months. And then obviously the PPI report and CPI is so close to one another. We're getting the CPI in a few hours. The Fed decision, I think, it's gonna look at these two reports. These two reports gonna place a heavy weight to the decision of the Fed. So if, like for Bitcoin, if we get lower rates, of course, more liquidity and risk appetite. So yeah, more liquidity means some of that fund might flow into so-called risk-on asset. Well, I don't think Bitcoin is risk-on, but like it's still relatively volatile compared to other assets. All right, so if you don't know much about PPI, basically this is published monthly by the US Bureau of Labor Statistics. It measures the average change in prices that domestic producers receive for their goods and services. So think of it as a wholesale inflation. PPI equal like how much producers charge and can later pass on to the consumers. So that's why PPI plays a more significant role compared to just like the consumer price index or the CPI. Yeah, so based on this number is negative 0.1. That's what we want to see, right? And first decline since April compared to expected is positive 0.3%. And if you also hop over to the year over year is 2.6% compared to the prior one, 3.1% that we got in July, which is really good. And then, yeah, that's for PPI. Let's hop on to the CPI report. So CPI, we're sitting at 2.7%. We're getting in a few hours. Let's see how that plays out. At the moment, we're predicting that we'll get a 2.9%. So there's like a tiny tick in inflation. As I mentioned in the beginning of the show, markets like to predict stuff. And if the actual number is better than our prediction, market gonna rally, take it as a bullish sign. Vice versa, if we end up getting like worse than this number, I don't know, like 3% or something, then market is not gonna like it. Maybe we have a dip. So all I'm saying is that coming hours, we're gonna see some volatility in the coming hours, and the Fed gonna look very closely at these like inflation report as well. All right, so one thing I find it very interesting is that the PPI, which we focus for, we have a negative number. Why we look at PPI is because it's wholesale inflation, right? Usually the tariffs gonna raise input costs, especially like electronics and appliances hit the hardest, or even some like vehicle companies, right? Because a lot of components are made from abroad. So what I noticed from this PPI report is that a lot of businesses are actually absorbing much cost with like instead of just passing it on to the supply chain to the consumers. Yeah, let's see how long this would last. Again, PPI is a more important metrics compared to CPI, I would say. So if tariffs ease after October, inflation could cool faster. If not, like we might have the risk of stagflation, which means high prices and at the same time slow growth, like slow GDP. We talked about the GDP a little bit yesterday because it highly correlated with the recession. Yes, like recession, the word is on the table again, which is very important, very interesting because we have been talking about recession in 2022 throughout the entire year. But we all know what happened back in 2022. Like the US government can just like come out and change the definition of inflation. So that's very interesting and that's very funny. All right, so I'm saying that the rate cuts is not only good for our backs, but it looks like it's necessary because the job market is looking weak. Like there are 4 consecutive months of below 100,000 jobs being added to the market. Usually 100,000 jobs is like the metrics we look at. The fact that like 4 consecutive months we are under that metric, and June we got a negative revisions. And then I think they're like a combine of almost 1 million jobs erased from past year's estimates. So it's like the largest ever. That's why Donald Trump was so mad. And again, unemployment rate is ticking up. So the Fed really has to come in to cut rates because they have the dual mandate. Not only they have to control inflation at like around 2%, they also have to look closely at the unemployment rate and also the non-farm payrolls, like how many jobs being added in a monthly basis. So the expectation of the market, well, a lot of that has priced in, as I mentioned in the show. 92% of people are now predicting that there will be at least 25 basis point cut. So if we only get a 0.25 interest rate cut, I think the market gonna be not gonna like that, and we're gonna see a dip or neutral at best. You could be like a Gemini, you've been so bearish. So I would say either neutral or we have a dip. And then 8% of people will predict that we'll get 50 basis point rather, 50 basis point cut. And yeah, we talked about recession yesterday. I think like cutting rates is actually preventive because recession is again on the table. So the Fed kind of need to cut rate fast, and it might provide some cushion for the labor market and also for growth. So yeah, I'm not as bearish as like some people on X calling that, okay, we are already in recession, or 2026 is going to be recession. I think rate cuts can be preventive. So if we do get enough rate cuts and the Fed act fast, then we might actually prevent that, or be already in inflation. Usually when we have like a proper official announcement from the government that we are in recession, the worst is probably over. So yeah, I'm seeing that is okay, watch out in the next few hours what the report, the CPI gonna look like. All right, so that's for the macro. Let's look at some Bitcoin treasury companies. By the way, is my screen too small? Let me know in the live stream. Yeah, I don't know why I cannot see the live chats through StreamYard, but I think we're going to figure it out later. All right, so for now, let's just focus on the Bitcoin treasury. Why I want to talk about this, because first of all, it's like the narrative of this cycle, right? So if this is your first time hearing about Bitcoin treasury companies, you must be living in a rock. Okay, so what it means is that like public firms would hold BTC as the core balance sheet asset. Right now, as you can see on this list, like these are only the top 100 companies adding Bitcoin, like, and turning the company into a Bitcoin treasury. So there's a combined of like 5% of Bitcoin controlled by all these like Bitcoin treasury companies. And it's up from like less than 500,000 coins a year ago. But here's the catch, and the reason why I want to talk about Bitcoin treasury company again. We are seeing a slowdown in terms of the pace of accumulation, and also the MNAV. It does look like, I wouldn't say concerning, but it's dropping a lot. Of course, the first one we have to watch is going to be MicroStrategy, because it's the biggest one. But when we actually look at the number, even MicroStrategy is slowing down, and the MNAV is trading closer to 1x. It's not at 1x, like 1. Okay, give it 1.3x. Okay, 1.3x. But a lot of other other companies, okay, we are trading below 1x. So Mara is sitting at 0.98x. That's the second biggest Bitcoin treasury. And look at this. Okay, XXI is trading at 0.041x. So that's a little bit concerning, right? Okay, what's going on? So there are more than 184 companies now hold BTC on the balance sheet and turn it into a treasury play, directly copying what MicroStrategy has been doing, because MicroStrategy started doing that in 2020. Is they have the fast mover advantage. That's why you can see the I'll just use this one. Okay, you can see the MNAV is still above 1x, which means it's so much better than its competitors. How they grow the Bitcoin holding is basically, okay, there's a mechanism. The company would issue new shares or debt, like convertible bonds, at a premium, and then they'll go ahead to use that proceeds to buy BTC. The ultimate goal is to increase BTC per share, making the stock more like a leverage play on Bitcoin. So MicroStrategy started doing this. They have where'd it go? Okay, there you go. So MicroStrategy started doing this. However, if you scroll down on the buy, okay, so his recent buy, he added 1,900 BTC on 8th of September, which is pretty recent, just a few days ago. However, if you actually look closer to the number, close to 2,000 BTC, that's a lot. But if you go down, you will see that, in July, we have 5-digit BTC being added. And then same as in June, 5-digit again, and then 5-digit in May as well. So we are seeing a slowdown for the BTC he's purchasing. The reason why there's a slowdown is because, the MNAV, let's go back up. There you go. Okay. The MNAV is not giving him so much room to raise that much fund anymore. Like MSTL, MicroStrategy initially promised the investor not to issue new shares unless the stock is trading at a 2.5x MNAV premium or even higher. But they wanted to change that, and then the public backlash. So, so they kind of they didn't do it, but the public feel like the trust has been broken, something like that. However, we do see this MNAV is shrinking, is at a correction phase. In other words, there's less fast money, more cautious, so slow money through debt and smaller raises. The reason why MNAV is so important and is important for all these companies on this list is because I'll give you guys the formula. So market cap plus debt minus cash divided by BTC holdings at market value. So in other words, if the MNAV is above 1x, that means that the stock would be trading at a premium, is healthy, is what investors like to see, and it allows the companies to revalue and use that premium to purchase more BTC. However, if the number is below 1x, that means the stock is on a discount, and it could be quite dangerous, and it could cause dilution if they force to enforce sell BTC. However, right now we have to ask the question, like, why is MNAV shrinking? First of all, like, the competition is keen. Like, look at this list. This is only the top 100 companies. There are actually more than 180 firms doing this treasury play, directly copying what MicroStrategy has been doing. And then another reason why is it shrinking is that BTC has somewhat been flat. Like, it's just like consolidating, going sideways, not doing much, it's not breaking new all-time high. So the hype, the excitement kind of cooled down a little bit. And then the third reason is that investors kind of get tired, fatigue, I would say, because all these, like, I would say copycats, some of these companies, they are not healthy companies, like they have negative cash flows. And we now have to ask the questions like, if like all these unhealthy companies are getting in, do we actually want that? Is it a good foundation for Bitcoin? So I would say investors feel tired seeing, okay, just another copycat of MicroStrategy. So they don't see much unique selling points like, okay, why would I buy this certain company instead of this certain company? Like, they are all the same, right? And if we just look at the top 5, we just ignore the rest because there are too many. Just look at the top 5. Strategy, I think, is going to be fine because it's the first mover advantage. They have been doing that, and they have been through bear market. Even during 2022, MicroStrategy actually borrowed some money from Silvergate, and the fact that the company still survive and making so much money, it really signals something to the market. Like, MicroStrategy is really something. And as for Mara, it is a mining company, so there's like some pressure because mining is no longer profitable. XXI is at a major discount, and there might be, I don't know, the listing risk. So yeah, I'm not like, I will stay away. Not financial advice, but I won't touch that. Okay, and Bitcoin stable treasury company is somewhat stable, but it has like a low premium. Oh, it's not showing here. It has a low premium. And then bullish, the fifth firm on the list is new entrant, so is a little bit more volatile. The point being, on this list, like, there are more than 1/3 of the treasury companies are trading below 1x MNAV. Yeah, so I do see this as a trend. I do think that the MNAV gonna trade closer to 1x, and it likely continued all the way to 2026. And I do think that only a dozen of these companies that we are seeing here will survive or maintain a MNAV larger than 1x in the long run. I will say like within 10 companies. Yeah. The reason why I will say this is, again, a lot of these like unhealthy play are getting into the market. Think about it. If you're selling your own shares or raising debt, convertible debt to purchase some BTC, it doesn't automatically mean your company is worth more. It just means that, okay, you're using the investors' money to purchase some BTC. Yeah, so I do think like a lot of these companies will get flushed out, but yeah, you guys can quote me on that, and let's see if I'm right in 2026. Let's see if this list, like this company, is still going to survive. All right, so that's for the treasury play. Let's move on to some good news. We have the SEC chair. All right, so Paul Atkins, if you didn't know this, the previous chair, we have Gary Gensler, and he was absolutely hostile to crypto. But right now, Paul Atkins, he just gave a keynote in Paris at the OECD Roundtable on Global Financial Market. So long story short, he said that crypto's time has come. And so instead of the very aggressive crackdowns like Gary Gensler, the previous SEC chair, Paul Atkins is pushing for innovation, on-chain fundraising, and global cooperation. And because of this, like, okay, BTC jumped up like 2 to 3% on the day. It's not just about the PPI being so good. Of course, that is like one of the reasons, but they're actually like, okay, I would say like markets always move, but narratives follow price. And this apparently is one of the reasons that follow the price. All right, so if this is your first time hearing this like OECD roundtable on global financial markets, like what is this thing, right? Okay, basically, this is like a 38-member intergovernmental group focused on global economic policy. The purpose is to discuss modernizing capital markets, balancing innovation with risk, very directly talking about crypto. The audience or the people who usually attend are policymakers, regulators, and industry leaders. So Paul Atkins' message was really clear that the US must lead in digital assets by updating outdated laws and enabling super apps where stocks and bonds and crypto trade can seamlessly come together side by side. We're going to get into that in the next news because there's some collaboration between Gemini and also some TradFi. So I do see that that's going to be a trend moving forward. So the line between crypto companies and then TradFi companies is going to be like going to get blurry. All right. But anyways, Paul Atkins' key message is that the past SEC leadership has been, weaponizing subpoenas and lawsuits, which ultimately drove projects away, like drove projects out of the US. But Paul Atkins is saying that, okay, under his leadership, hopefully these projects will come back to the US. And then he also declared that most tokens are not securities. This is like basically the opposite stance of Gary Gensler and why everyone is like loving this guy on X. And he's also pushing for clear rules to raise capital directly on blockchain without endless legal battles. I'm a big fan of this because like I look at a lot of projects and then I prefer the ICO way of raising funds compared to having VCs. Yeah, but because back in 2017, the ICO bubble popped, we still haven't seen like much ICO, but I actually much prefer ICO than VCs. Yeah, let me know in the chat if you guys agree with me or disagree with me. Let's have a discussion. Maybe we can talk about that in the next live stream. All right, so he's also pushing for super app vision, like integrated platforms for TradFi and digital asset. And yeah, saying that, okay, US need to be the crypto capital of the world. This is like a huge dynamic shift compared to just what we had a few years ago, right? So maybe you will ask, okay, Jamie, are there any actual rules set in place? Well, not yet, but groundwork is being laid. For example, there are proposals for custody rules, broker-dealer definitions, tokenized securities, and then the SEC is also collaborating with the CFTC because in the previous leadership, it was so messy. Like you don't know which one to control, to regulate crypto, basically. And then it's good to see that the SEC and CFTC are, instead of like arguing so much and having conflict, they are working together. So that is like a huge improvement, I would say. All right, so what happened, this isn't just a speech alone. Like, okay, it doesn't change the route, but it set out the momentum and set out the tone that the US is becoming very crypto friendly, and they are they are determined to set pro-crypto frameworks. Not only this, Paul Atkins, okay, let me zoom closer so you guys don't have to squint. Okay, push. Okay. All right, so not only this, the SEC chair also had this like Project Crypto. This was actually launched on 31st of July, so just 2 months ago. And then the goal is to set clear custody, exchange, broker-dealer rules, and also enable tokenized securities and DeFi. That's one thing I really want to hear, especially DeFi, because the previous administration has been so hostile for DeFi. Seriously, I don't know why. Yeah, so the public comments already closed. I think it closed in mid-August, 18th of August. There will be they will start drafting the rules, and possibly we have some like drafts by Q4 this year, or maybe 2026 next year. Like, just bear in mind, like these things move extremely slow because it's the government we're talking about. All right, so yeah, if we do get this and some pro-crypto regulation from the government, of course, it's going to be very beneficial for Bitcoin, right? If Project Crypto produces like concrete proposal by year end, I would say like BTC would go to 150K easily. When 150K is being conservative, not financial advice, of course. And for long-term wise, with supportive rules, BTC could like cement itself as a mainstream safe haven asset, like alongside with gold. Think about that. So yeah, I'm very bullish on Bitcoin, as you can probably tell from my live streams. But with or without the government, Bitcoin's going to do fine. It's good to see that the hurdles has been removed, especially Gary Gensler is no longer in the house. But yeah, Bitcoin is going to high places for sure. Next, let's move on to the news I have been hinting about. Okay. So, crypto exchange Gemini raises US IPO target to $433 million. And then another really big crypto exchange in the US, Kraken. Kraken expands tokenized equities platform X stocks to European investors. So these are two really big moves in the past 24 hours. And it highlights how crypto exchanges are tightening ties with Wall Street. Like these two firms, like of course, they are now chasing legitimacy, capital, and mainstream adoption, much like Coinbase back in 2021. But Coinbase and then Circle IPO roller coaster kind of remind us that hype doesn't always last. We're gonna get into that in a bit. Okay, but now let's look at Gemini first. Like, let's look at the details. What do you need to know, right? Okay, so the IPO for Gemini is set to list on Nasdaq with the ticker GEMI. So GEMI, same as my name. I think I need to, maybe I need to charge them money for that name. Okay, so they are targeting to raise 433 million by selling 16.7 million shares at a $24 to $26 per share, valuing Gemini at around $3.1 billion. So what this means, oh, by the way, like up to 40% of the shares will go to platform like Robinhood and SoFi. So what does this mean? The Nasdaq $15 million private placement isn't just money. It means that Nasdaq can use Gemini's custody, staking, and derivative service, while Gemini clients gain access to Nasdaq, the collateral management platform. So the bigger picture is about like fusing Wall Street infrastructure with crypto rails. Nasdaq has even filed with the SEC to allow tokenized stock trading, and Gemini could be there on RAM. I saw some of the IPO deals from some alpha group my friends sent out. Yeah, because like we always have like alpha groups like this asking if we want to invest early, but like the buy-in was quite high, so that's why I leave that out. And then as for Kraken, what's new is that okay, it expanded X stocks to EU investors. How it works is that it's going to tokenize the top 50 to 60 US stocks and ETFs. So that's include Amazon, Tesla, Nvidia, Apple, Google, yada, yada, yada. And it's mainly going to run on Solana because it's cheap and fast with Ethereum and BNB chain support. The trading is going to be available 24/5, so 5 trading days, 24 hours, with fractional shares from $1. Why it matters? Because it cuts out brokers, paperwork, or FX fees, and really democratize access to US markets in Europe. So good stuff, but I think they are also learning lessons from Coinbase and Circle. So Coinbase, the IPO valuation peaked at like $100 billion, but now it's closer to 40 billion. So 40 to 50 billion. So there's like a brutal correction. Yeah, so Gemini is borrowing the public legitimacy and also retail access bloke from Coinbase. But Gemini has a Nasdaq as a strategic partner, so that's pretty strong background. And as for Circle, like this is interesting because I was checking out the chart and I thought I was looking at some shitcoin. Look at it, like we went from $300 and dropped to 113. So a 62% correction. If you have been following this, like, okay, Circle IPO in June and raised $1 billion at $7 billion valuation, like the valuation is extremely high. The stock spike up. So more than 300%, like 400%, let's say. Okay, and then down 60 something percent. It showed massive demand, but also the hype from IPO. If you ask me, I'm actually long-term bearish on Circle. The reason why I'm long-term bearish is because the competition when it comes to stablecoin is quite keen. Not only major platforms are doing the own stablecoin, so for like major platforms, there is no reason to use the competitor's stablecoin USDC, right? And then a few days ago, we have news from Hyperliquid launching their own stablecoin. And as we know, Hyperliquid is the #1 DEX, it's dominating the DEX volume. So Hyperliquid using its own stablecoin is like, again, maybe gonna take some volume away, and people would choose to use Hyperliquid stablecoin when they're trading on Hyperliquid. That makes sense, right? I'm actually very long-term bullish on Hyperliquid, but bearish on Circle. And especially when you look at Circle, where's the revenue coming from? It's actually a majority from investing into government bonds, so treasury. So as we know that rate cuts are coming and multiple rate cuts will be coming, let's see if Circle managed to sustain its revenue. Anytime with that, right? Yeah, so that's for Circle. And yeah, if you guys want to participate, just be careful. Yeah, I do like how TradFi and crypto coming together, and how the lines is going to get blurry. Maybe, I don't know, within the 5 years, like people not going to notice, okay, it's purely a crypto exchange or a purely TradFi exchange. Yeah, I think they're going to merge together. All right, so that's for the what? Okay. That's for the news that I want to cover. Before I wrap up, yeah, because like this morning I was actually scrolling Instagram, and I saw like news like this. So Charlie Kirk has been shot dead, and yeah, I was like heartbroken when I saw news like this. And then there's like so much conflicts going on, like the wars, like the rising tension in the Middle East. There's a strike on Qatar. Yeah, like when I saw news like this, I don't know, I feel really heartbroken. Yeah, so wait, where's I? Okay, so yeah, I watch a lot of like Charlie's content. His like Instagram reels. So when I saw that news, I thought it was a joke. But yeah, I feel really bad for his families, and yeah, my heart goes out to his families. And yeah, when I saw comments like some comments would be so heartless, and they will be like celebrating his death. Like I don't know if those people are human at all. Yeah, I don't know what they're thinking. And then yeah, and then huge like tension in the Middle East. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of conflicts, and I'm not a big fan of wars. Yeah, I don't know, like, okay, the least we could do is to like, okay, stay safe. And yeah, like if you are in places that there are a lot of guns, and then guns are okay. I don't understand the culture because I'm from Hong Kong, and Hong Kong is relatively very safe here. So yeah, so please stay safe. And because of this, we see gold is breaking new all-time high, and it hit like 3680 something an ounce. The reason why we're seeing this is because like geopolitical tension, the fear of war, and then central bank buying, inflation hedge, and also US dollars is losing its value, like stuff like that. So they want to protect themselves. So yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, I kind of want to end it on a, I don't know, I don't want to be sad, but yeah, I have a mixed feeling when I saw the news about this. Yeah. Anyway, like I hope Charlie rest in peace, and that's all I want to say in this live stream. Yeah, sorry about the end, but yeah, that's all I want to say. If you guys want to watch more of my shows, I would do live stream 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. Hong Kong time, and you will see my live stream on Gem Crypto and on Roxanne TV. Yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.